If you don't want BS and get-rich-quick Amazon KDP advice, but rather simple basics without any fluff, then this video is for you. So today's video is part of a free series where I analyze real authors' books on Amazon from our author community on Facebook and see what's working, see what missed opportunities they had, and what mistakes were made that need to be fixed. We do this to help authors do better on Amazon, get more sales, and get better organic rankings for their book. So let's get right into this video. And in case you're new to the channel, Cleo and I have sold over 240,000 books between our own KDP accounts. We have a free Facebook group with over 230,000 members. And with our self-publishing Titans tools, we have helped over 300,000 authors. All right, so let's get into this first book here. All right, so our first book is actually doing really well. So we can see they have a bestseller rank of 50,000, and they're doing quite good in royalties and quite good in sales. So let's see what everything that they're doing right and potentially any things that they could improve to even further increase their sales. All right, so let's look at the cover here. I'm a huge fan of the colors and the text. I feel like that really pops really well. I also like the middle image here and the flowers. That also really pops and looks great. Really high quality image. I like that this is a Highland Cow coloring book, so that's really fun and cute. The only thing that I would suggest here is maybe capitalizing these letters, just so it's matching with the top of the cover. Looking at the back, looks really great. I like that there's QR codes for the different countries. Really cool idea. And I like that you can see the coloring page as well as the after page, just so you can get an idea of what this might look like. So that's also really well done. Let's take a look at the title here. So Highland Cow coloring book. So the title is great, short and to the point, and tells you what it is. And then the subtitle, 50+ bold and easy designs for kids, teens, and adults. One design per page with fun facts, helps relax, unwind, and reduce anxiety. Perfect for gifting. The subtitle is also good. I like that we have bold and easy. Those are always good keywords for coloring books. My only suggestion here is Amazon does not always like kids, teens, and adults. So for future coloring books, I would recommend sticking to teens and kids, or teens and adults, or adults and seniors, but not such a big age gap between kids and adults. We have seen it where books got rejected. The review team didn't like that it was for kids and adults and didn't think that was a good match. So obviously they approved it for this, which is good, but that's the only reason I mentioned that. I like that it says one design per page. That's just good information about the coloring book. They also have fun facts, so that's also cool. And then relaxing and anxiety, also good keywords. So overall, I think the title and subtitle is really great. All right, so let's look at the reviews. So we have 5 reviews, all 5 stars. So great job on getting your reviews. The price is $9.99, so I think that price is fine. Also at this price, it'll be easier to actually run Amazon ads. So let's take a look at the description here. So the first thing I notice is that the 5 bullet points are cut off. So that is one thing that I would improve upon, and I would put the bullet points just below that. And then instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bullet points, I would try to figure out if you can combine some or just choosing the top 5. Because that's just the standard for most Amazon products, and that is what works. But other than that, I like that the keywords are in bold, also grabs attention to that, so that's also great. Just one thing I want to say, obviously this book is doing really well, so I would be really careful and slow with making any changes because whatever you're doing is working. So any of these suggestions that you want to implement, I would implement them slowly, one at a time, to see how the book does and if it's doing better or worse, because that way you can monitor it and see it, and if it's doing worse, you can always put the change back. But if then, for example, you make 5 changes all at once and it starts doing worse instead of better, you don't know what was the cause point. But if you do it one at a time, you can see that's doing better, and then once you see that it is doing better, move on to the next improvements and just slowly roll that out. So let's look at your A+ content. So this also looks really nice. I like the background pattern and colors. I like the color choices here. I like that you have these examples. And here we can also see the facts about each one. So I think that's a really cool and creative idea. Haven't seen that too often with coloring books. And then I like this, that you have a prevent bleed through page example to show that. So that's also really great. And then once again, showing the before and after potentials. So that's also really cool. and then the comparison book. So that's also really great. So A+ content, I wouldn't have any recommendations for changes. I think you did great on that, so good job. All right, so let's look at your categories. We can see art therapy and relaxation, animal coloring book for adults, and stress management, self-help. So the middle category is obviously the most fitting because it is a coloring book and it is animals. For now, I would leave that. If in the future your sales start slowing down, I would potentially consider changing out one of these categories for another more fitting category in the coloring book space. But for now, I would leave that. And in here, we can see you added an image, so that's really, really good. One small missed opportunity we have here is your author description. So I would definitely make sure to really add that quickly, especially because right now you have some momentum, and that can only help. We have your first reviews. Yeah, overall, I'm impressed. I think this listing is great. I think you're doing really, really well. I think keep doing what you're doing. Do more of it with the other books. And if you implement any of these changes, do it slowly so you can see what happens with your sales. All right, so let's go on to the next book. So here we have a coloring book as well. So coloring practice, coloring book to master blending techniques, shadows, highlights, and patterns. So this sounds like a really creative coloring book, but unfortunately, we're not really getting any sales currently, as we can see from the bestseller rank here. And in case anyone is curious what Chrome extension this is, if you go to the Chrome store and type in self-publishing titans, it is this bottom one here. And this is a brand new extension that we released recently, which combines the two extensions that we released many years ago into one. And then also all the new tools and features we're adding are only going to this one. Just we have like an all-in-one master extension. So feel free to try that out. Looking at the cover, I like the colors. But the design looks slightly plain, but I don't think it's a bad cover at all. I like that you show the color gradient here, the different colors for the wood here and for the lake. So I think that's really cool. My only critique on this is that it doesn't fully look like a coloring book cover to me. I do think it's creative, I do think it's nice, but I'm not sure when I look at it that I really feel like it's a coloring book. So maybe one change that could have been made is showing some of these not colored in just yet. Maybe half the log is colored in and the other one not. And then maybe some of the lake is colored in and not, and some of the plants. I think you get the points, but I think that would illustrate more that this is a coloring book, and then maybe even having more coloring elements on here. That would be the only suggestion I would make. I like here that you have an example. I guess you're showing patterns and a coloring page. The one thing I would like to see on the back page is actual empty pages, so the potential buyer can see what the actual pages look like. I think that will help you get better conversions. So let's critique your title here. So we do have some interesting keywords. We have coloring practice, we have blending, shadows, highlights, patterns, but these are kind of like smaller niches. So I'm looking for like the one main niche that this book would be targeting, which I feel like is missing in this book. And to find great long tail keywords, we can use the Titans Pro Chrome extension. And the way it works is you just type in a keyword in the Amazon search bar, and then it will show you all of the Amazon search suggestions, as well as the estimated monthly search volume, the competitors, the demand score and opportunity score. And then ideally we find one that is a nice long tail keywords, smaller niche that really fits to this kind of coloring book. And I think that will really help you get better organic rankings and sales. I really think that the main reason this book is not really selling is just the main keywords and the targeting of it. So I think for the next book, we can improve that. And then I think you would have much better results already. Looking at your description here, I like that you have a really long description. It's slightly, with all the different icons, feels like it was written with AI. And then here, there's no space between those paragraphs. Obviously, totally minor point, but just a slight improvement. And then I always prefer having just one line at the top and then going straight into the bullet points. And I think having bullet points that are only one line long instead of two is even better, because the whole point of the bullet points is to have really quick data for a buyer to glance at it and see if the book is for them or not. And then ideally we close them and buying it right then and there. But if not, they can read more of the description. So I would make this shorter, put it right at the top so we can see it without clicking read more. And that should also help you in the future. And let's take a look at the bestseller rank. So it looks like at this dip here, we had one sale, but since then nothing. And let's look at your A+ content. Okay, so here we can see some example pages. So this is what I would have put on the back cover. and maybe even some on the front cover. I think they could improve the cover more, and especially the back cover, because we want people to be able to see it right at the top of the Amazon product page. But I'm a big fan of the design. I like the colors, I like the background, I like the way it's positioned, and I like the different elements here. So I think on the A+ content, you did a great job. Yeah, I like these examples too, and there's some more text, so I think that's great. And then here, this is also nice, some colored in. So this is all really good. I like that you're showing the size of the book and that there's blank pages. Really nice way of showing that. And looking at your categories, I don't think decorating is the best category, so I would probably change that. Education workbooks, possibly, but maybe something else. And here we have children's coloring book, but this could also be for adults. And in the title, you don't say. So I would also try to target an adult coloring book, because I personally feel like if you're learning how to blend and shadows and highlights, that's also more like adults kind of level, not just plain coloring. So overall, I think you actually did a pretty good job. I do like your cover overall. The comments I made are more improvements, but I think you already have a good starting point. Your title isn't bad, but the main thing missing there is just the main keywords that we're trying to target and rank for. Your description seems fine. Slight improvement is just moving the bullet points higher. And then, like I said, I would show the coloring pages here already. And then good job on having your reviews. So I think if you make these adjustments, either for this book and then unpublish and republish, or to apply these tips for your next book, I think you'll do much, much better. But I do feel like you could have a good future with Amazon KDP. I feel like you're on the right track, already have really many positive points. So I wish you the best of luck. And if you have a book in the future, I would love to look at it again and help you more. All right, so let's look at our next book here. So here we have a book that has a bestseller rank of almost 5 million, obviously not getting any sales or royalties, unfortunately. So let's see what we can do to help this book out. All right, so the title here says 25 fantastical ways to deal with stress in a modern world. So this seems to be a high content how-to kind of book, possibly. It's 61 pages long, so not the longest book. Looking at the cover, obviously it's very creative and a lot of details to it, but I'm not the biggest fan. The cover looks slightly, I don't want to say plain, but it doesn't really pop for me. It doesn't really grab my attention. Let's just use our Titans AI tool to see what our AI says about your cover for any tips. So we can see also that you have a score of 62, which isn't bad, but obviously there is room for improvement. Okay, so the analysis here on improvement, it says the title's elaborate font, while artistic, reduces readability, especially at smaller thumbnail sizes, and the intricate background can detract from the text clarity. The placement of text at the top and the center doesn't create strong visual hierarchy to immediately draw attention to the key message. So I think that's all a good tip. And let's look at the opportunity here. Simplifying the font for the main title to enhance readability while retaining the hand-drawn aesthetic could improve commercial appeal. Additionally, increasing contrast between the title area and the illustrated backgrounds or incorporating a subtle overlay could help the text stand out. Strategically integrating more genre-specific visual cues related to stress relief or mindfulness might also attract the target audience more effectively. So I think these are also fine. Let's just look at your competitors here. See if you can find any exact match competitors. Okay, so anxiety relief, that one kind of matches. Self-regulate something. Teen Girl, Guide to Beating Worry and Anxiety, the Anxiety Workbook for Teens. So I guess the thing that stands out here is that all of them have really big text, and it's very easy to read even at smaller sizes, at least for some of them here. And they have more plain designs that kind of pop and tell you what the book is about really easily at a glance. So I think this competitor analysis tool would be a great thing for you to use as you're adjusting your cover and looking at your competitors. This competitor analysis tool is actually free. We wanted to make that available for everybody. So check that out as you're updating your cover. I think that will help you. And then looking at the title here. So we have a title but no subtitle. So that is also a slight miss. For these kind of high content books, it is a great thing to have good keywords in your title and your subtitle potentially. And once again, I would just use Titans Pro Chrome extension for that. Because right here in the title, I don't see like the main niche we're trying to target in the main keyword. Obviously, we also have the 7 backend keywords, but for a book like this, we can definitely take full advantage of having keywords in the title or subtitle. So I think that is one of the main reasons your book's not selling, as well as the cover itself. But the cover is very creative, so I don't want to take away from that. It obviously took a lot of time and effort to make that. So I think that's really, really cool. Let's look at your description here. So I like that you have a description in the first place, so that's good. A couple paragraphs. I would try changing it from all bold to more regular text. And then I highly encourage you to come up with 5 great bullet points about your book, so people can see at a glance what your book is about and how it can help them and the benefits from it, etc. So I would try doing that. And then I'm not sure if this is black and white or colored, but at $17 and only 61 pages, I feel like this could be reduced, only because we're not really getting any sales. So having a lower price could potentially also encourage people buying this book more. Yes, let's look at your A+ content. Okay, so I don't see any A+ content. So for your book, what I would recommend is talking about the book more in your A+ content. Maybe if it makes sense, show some interior pages. I think that would also be quite nice, just so a user can see what they might do with this book or get out of this book. So definitely consider that. So let's look at your categories. So depression, mental health, that could be suitable. Stress management, good. Happiness and self-help. So I think you did a great job on choosing these categories. Categories are also always important for the SEO. So choosing the right categories is important because it also helps the algorithm understand what your book is about. So you did a good job on that. And then I like that you added a profile picture of yourself. That's a nice picture. And great job for adding a short description about yourself. So that's also really good. Okay, so here we can see the inside. Okay, so I think the price is a little bit higher because it's with colored pages. So one thing you could also consider is making a black and white version of this book if it's suitable, and then you'd be able to try a lower price while still making the same or more profits. So since the book is not selling, I would consider updating a cover, trying a different version. And then with your Kindle ebook, I would try adding a subtitle to it and changing things around. And definitely use the Titans Pro Chrome extension to find long tail keywords so you can put any 7 backend keywords. And then because this book is already a couple years old and not selling, once you make these changes, try to run some Amazon ads, give it a little bit of a boost, and then definitely also consider doing more social media things. You can try Pinterest, pinning different things about your book. You can try TikTok. You can try being in Facebook groups that are relevant to your niche or creating your own group, and things like that. All right, so that is the end of today's video. If you want to see more of this, please subscribe, and then I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Okay, bye.